Hello, my bomb blowers and module masters, and today I am here with another Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes modded module tutorial, and today I am here with the module SUSadmin. SUSadmin is a module that simulates a console, and the goal of the module is to break the console by installing a bunch of viruses on it. Let's go ahead and get started. This module will require the eject, so I do have the eject turned on for this tutorial. So here's SUSadmin. As said before, it simulates a console, and the main defining feature is the red text in the bottom left. If the text is in green, then you're looking at the module sister, SUSadmin. That's an entirely different module, but we're here to learn about SUSadmin, I'm sorry. Anyway, so, the first step of solving the SUSadmin module is by typing in... by the way, this module does require keyboard support, so when you see me typing onto the module, I'm typing with my keyboard. So the first thing to do is to send the module the status command. Type in the game, and it's not... what? That was weird. I guess it just forgot that I was tabbed into the module. Anyway, let's send it the status command, and we're going to get this information. We're going to get the operating system, the version number, the installed security protocols. There will always be 3. And then it's also going to give us safety level unknown. This is not important for solving the module, this is just for flavor. So what we need from this is the OS version. It can either be bomb or boom. Ours is bomb OS, so it's bomb. The version number, which is 53. And then the 3 security protocols, which are Kasperovich, MedicWeb, and Mod32. First of all, we're going to get a number. The number is going to be deemed as the vulnerability. So let's go ahead and get this number. We're going to start by getting the OS version, which was this number. If the OS is boom, we're going to multiply by -1. This really only happens if your starting time is very low, but our OS is bomb and not boom, so we're not multiplying by -1. Subtract the number of battery holders, we have 0, multiplied by 5. Add the number of indicators, we have 1, multiplied by 7. Subtract the number of port plates, 4, multiplied by 3. And then subtract the bomb starting time in minutes, which was 42. So we're going to take the result of this calculation, which gives us 6. Now, we're going to get our possible viruses. This table contains all of the possible viruses. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the 3 rows that are the 3 security protocols in red. We have Kasperovich, MedicWeb, and Mod32. Any virus inside of the red cells are going to be invalid. If we attempt to install any of these viruses onto the module, then we are going to get a strike. There will be a grand total of 9 viruses that will be valid, and the way to figure out which ones are valid are, we're going to copy a virus from any one of our 3 cells that are not red, and we're going to Control F to see if it's in any of the red cells. 5YP4 is in 2 white cells, so that means this is one of our 9 valid viruses. And we're going to keep comparing to the tables until we find our 9 viruses that we can install on the computer, on the console. We search for this. This is the only occurrence of UBNL. What about D4YD? D4YD is in the MedicWeb row, which means that if we try to install D4YD, we're going to get a strike, so we're not going to consider DY4D. This is also in a red row, so we're going to continue. M821 is in 2 white rows, so we are considering M821. This is in 2 white rows, so we're considering it. And now now that we've done all the viruses in the Byte Defender row, we're going to move on to the AWAS row. And once again, we're looking for any viruses that are in 1 or 2 white rows. If it's in just 1 white row, then it's valid. Anyway, let's keep on going. This one is in 2 white rows, so it is valid. This is easily the most tedious part of the module. So you see that K3 for Quebec is in the row above, that's also in white. And we've already gotten it in our list of possible viruses, so there's no need to copy it twice. Anyway, how many viruses are we in? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we just have 2 more viruses to find. This is in a row we've already visited, so we're going to ignore it. Here's one of our last 2 viruses. This is already in a row we've looked at. Here's the last virus we need. Now, I'm actually going to condone the usage of the optimize sheet. Because what I just did is easily the most tedious part of the module. But with this optimized spreadsheet, all you need to do is look up the 3 viruses, the security protocols in this table. If it's in the left row, then you're going to highlight it there. Then we're looking for Medic Web, which is in the left row, but we already have a left row that appears above Medic Web, so we're going to go to the second row. And then we have Mod 32, which appears here, which means these are our valid viruses. And as you can see, these are the viruses that we got from using the original manual. So I actually recommend using this optimized manual instead of the normal manual, because this takes away the most tedious part of the module. This also includes the way to get the vulnerability, but it does not include this section. So this section is pointing out something about SUSadmin. SUSadmin will strike if you do any of these actions. So if you, say, hit the query button or 2 bits, if you toggle any switch and colored switches, if you press anything successfully in colored squares. If SUSadmin is not solved when you do this, then each unsolved SUSadmin is going to strike. So, if you have any of the underlying modules on the bomb, you're going to want to solve SUSadmin before you do anything with them. So it is important that you find SUSadmin and do it near the start. But if you don't have any of these modules on the bomb, then who cares? It's not going to do anything. You may as well just solve it whenever you like. So anyway, now that we have our viruses, what next? So if we look down here in the commands, we have a few commands we can use. We've only used status 1 now. So now we're going to use the info command. So with the info command, you can put up to 4 viruses in the same line as the info command. So let's do our first 4 viruses. We have 5 Yankee Papa 4, 6881, Uniform Bravo November Lima, Mike 821. So we put 4 viruses into our info command. When we press enter, we're going to get 2 numbers for each of our viruses. These are the CI, or Compatibility Index, and the P, which is the power. So we're going to write down each of these numbers. 1418, 2059, 25, 77, and 3147. We're going to need all of these numbers for all 9 of our viruses. So we're going to get the info for our next 4 viruses. Kilo 34 Quebec, Oscar November Echo 5, 1 Kilo 63, Whiskey 9, Quebec 5. We're going to write down the numbers again. And then finally, we just get the info for our last virus, 6 Victor 00, which is 45 and 76. So, now I'm going to sort the viruses by compatibility index. You're going to see why I'm doing this later. So this is right above the least. These are between 20 and 25. This comes before 63, and we have sorted them going ascendingly downward by the first number. So, the goal of the module is to install an arrangement of viruses where two conditions apply. The difference between any two viruses' compatibility indexes, which corresponds to the first number, cannot be greater than the vulnerability we calculated earlier. So, for example, if we try to install 6881 and 5 Yankee Papa 4, the difference between their compatibilities are 6. Let me make sure that it's greater or... The sum of the powers of the viruses... Nope, that's not what we're looking for. Two viruses with a different incompatibility index greater than the vulnerability cannot work together. So, 6881 and 5 Yankee Papa 4 will work together, but if we try to install Oscar November Echo 5 and 5 Yankee Papa 4, the differences between their first numbers is 8, which is greater than 6. So if we attempted to install both of these viruses, then the module is going to strike. We need to install viruses that, when the difference is taken between any two viruses' compatibility indexes, the difference is not greater than 6. Additionally, since there are multiple ways to do this, I can install 31 and 25, I can install 25 through 20, I can install 22 through 18, because the difference between the minimum and the maximum viruses' compatibility indexes are not going to be greater than 6. These as well. So we're going to also install the viruses in such a way that the sum of their powers is the highest that it can possibly be. That was a little bit confusing, but I'm going to show you how to figure out the most efficient way to install the viruses onto the console. So first of all, we're going to take the highest number and then see if the difference between the next highest number is going to be greater than the vulnerability, which it is. So if we install K349, we can only install K349. So if we install K349, then the sum of all of the viruses' power is going to be 39. So if we manage to find a way to install another set of viruses to where the sum of their powers is greater than 39, then we're going to do this. So now we're going to look at 45, and look at the next highest, 31, which is 14. So if we install 6 Victor 00, we can only install 6 Victor 00, which means we're going to get a total sum of powers of 76. This is greater than 39. So we can go ahead and eliminate the K3 for Quebec virus from our potential candidates. Next, let's look at 31 and 25. Okay, so we can install both of these viruses. But if we look at 31 and 24, this is 7, which is greater than 6. So if we install M821, we cannot install 1K63. Meaning that it is possible for us to install both M821 and UBNL. And if we do so, then the sum of the powers of all the installed viruses is going to be 124. Which is greater than the 76 that we get by just installing 6 Victor 00, so we can eliminate this from our possibilities list. Now let's look at 25. 25 minus 24 is 1, which is less than the vulnerability, so let's move on to the next highest virus, which is 22. 3 is still less than the 6, so we can install these two. Now let's look at the next highest virus, which is 20, which the difference between these two is 5, meaning we could install UBNL, and 6881. But if we look at the next highest virus, which is 18, this is 7, which is greater than 6. So what this means is that we can install all 4 of UBNL, 1K63, ONE5, and 6881 at the same time. Because the difference between the maximum and the minimum compatibility indexes is not greater than the vulnerability. So if we installed all of these, we're going to get a sum of powers of 282. This is greater than the sum we're going to get by installing M821 and UBNL, so we can eliminate this combination of viruses. Now, let's take a look at 24. 1K63. So, we know the difference between 24 and 22 and 24 and 20 are going to be less than the vulnerability because they were installed alongside the 25. So we're going to look at the next virus, which is 18, which is 6, meaning I can install all of these viruses as well. So this is another potential combination of viruses that we can install, because the maximum and the minimum have a difference of at least the vulnerability. So let's calculate the sum of powers of this combination. It's 275, which is lower than the combination of UBNL, 1K63, ONE5, and 6881. So we're not going to consider this. Now let's move on to 22. So we know 22 and 18 can coexist because we tried the combination of 24 through 18. But if we take a look at 22 to 14, this is 8, which is greater than the vulnerability. So there is no point in checking whether or not 22 can be the maximum virus installed, because all of the possible viruses that can be installed, with 22 being the max power index, compatibility index, is going to include all the viruses that would be included if 24 was the highest index. Now, we can install 20 and 14, and this is actually the final combination of viruses that is unique that we can install. However, the sum of the 3 powers is going to be much less than the power sum of the current highest power sum, so we're not going to install this. Meaning that because these 4 viruses can be installed together, and the sum of their powers is the highest possible, we're going to install these 4 viruses. So how do we do this? We're going to go back to the commands, and we're going to look at this. We have install virus, or we can instead use add. So let's put add virus. We can put all of the viruses into the console, and it will install them. So let's do this. UBNL, 1K63, ONE5, 6881. It takes a moment to install, but it will install. Do note that at this point, if you have installed an invalid virus, the module is not going to strike. The module will only strike if you have installed an invalid virus and you have activated. Sending the activate command basically is a submit button. So if you send activate, it will take your current answer. If it is correct, the module will solve, and if it's not correct, then the module is going to reset. You can also clear the console by sending the clear command, which will delete all of the viruses you've entered. So we're going to have to reinstall the viruses that we just installed. Takes a moment. And you can remove any one specific virus that you want to remove by doing the remove command. So if we did remove UBNL, we're going to remove just the UBNL virus. But I want that installed, so let's put it back on our console. Okay, so now we have installed the viruses in such a way where the difference between the maximum and minimum compatibility index is less than the vulnerability, or less than or equal to the vulnerability, and that the sum of powers is the max that it can be. When it said safety level earlier, The safety level is... The goal of the module is to install viruses so that the sum of the powers is greater than the safety level. But the safety level is unknown, which is why we had to figure out the highest combination of valid viruses that we could install. If this doesn't make sense, it doesn't need to. Just install viruses so that the biggest number on the left and the smallest number on the left is less than or equal to this number you calculated, and install them in such a way that these numbers are the highest that they can be when added together. So I'm happy with my answer, so I'm going to activate. It's going to take a minute to activate, and if it's correct, then the network will be damaged, and the module's going to solve. Once again, do be wary about the warning. Do not interact with these modules if you have a SUSadmin on the bomb, or until you solve the SUSadmin. That is it for this tutorial. Hope you enjoy, and have a nice day.